Know what's exciting about the highest end OLED gaming monitors that are also like way too expensive? All the other gaming monitors are getting way less expensive. So the amount of awesomeness that you get per dollar is going way up. And this is a great example of that. The PG27QRT2A curved gaming monitor, 2560 by 1440, 180 hertz. Let's unbox. AMD FreeSync, 180 hertz, has a built-in Wi-Fi antenna. This is an ASRock feature, the built-in Wi-Fi antenna. And also the cable sock. I love the cable sock. Also, I mentioned it in one of the other gaming monitor videos offhand, but someone commented, oh, I never thought of that, and so I'll call it out explicitly. These boxes, if you go to LAN parties, or just go to your friend's house to hang out with everybody's computer at somebody's house in a basement, which is actually kind of fun. If you haven't done it, I suggest you do it. It's a fun activity. Get 3 or 4 of your friends, 5 or 6 of them. Pick somebody that's got a basement that's pretty big, some tables, and haul your stuff over there. But this box, it's got a handle. You can use it as a handy travel case. There's our cable sock, our DisplayPort cable, HDMI, and our Wi-Fi cables, along with our power cord. Look at the glorious curve! At the rear, we've got DisplayPort, dual HDMI, and a headphone jack. The headphone is for digital audio that comes from DisplayPort, so it'll break out your digital audio into analog. It's not appealing enough for me. I'm going to need something that's even more appealing. There we go. Ta-da! Now, if you have not seen the ASRock Phantom Gaming Sock before, you're in for a treat. It's flat, but you fold it over and zip it up around your cables. It makes your cables a little neater. I like it. It's a clever idea. I'd never seen one before. I guess ASRock didn't invent the idea of like the literal cable sock, but it is cool that it comes with the monitor. As with most of my reviews, I like to start with the subjective tests. And what that means is it's just my opinion. Like, I'm just looking at it and we're doing stuff. We'll get into DisplayCal and OSRTT for actual instrumentation. That should be a chapter in this video. But the things that I like to look at is scrolling. Like, how well does it scroll? Especially if it's not something like an OLED. By the way, you know, ASRock has some good LED panels. OLED type panels. But this one is way, way less expensive. Much better deal. Anyway, scrolling in a video game or scrolling text. This is scrolling Alice in Wonderland at 180 FPS. And you'd be surprised how many high refresh displays out there don't actually look that good when you're scrolling black text on a white background. I'm happy to report this display does really well scrolling black text on a white background. For video gaming, also if you're playing, you know, a multiplayer game and you got to scroll around the map or something like that, you move really quickly. Our UFO tests also have a nice little test for that. And so I just take the camera and sweep across the display to see how crisp or sharp the image looks. On an insanely high refresh display, it looks absolutely like it's not even a moving picture. Like there's no blurring, it's just razor sharp. And this display gets really, really close to razor sharp, entirely usable at 1920 pixels per second, which is what the default is on this test. It's a good looking picture at 180 hertz refresh rate. This monitor also supports 165 Hz if you can't quite push 180 Hz for your specific configuration. Yes, this monitor will work fine with level 1 text DisplayPort 1.4 kVM at 185 Hz because it's DisplayPort 1.4. Work totally fine. I also like to do the frame skipping test. Just this is a simpler version of the OSRTT thing. Well, it's not exactly the same thing, really. Because we're we're testing a couple of different things, but I just wonder how fast the panel can go from light to dark to light again, or from dark to light to dark, and make it fully all the way up from light to dark to light. You know, in the overdriver mode, it says it's got a 1 millisecond response time. And most panels say that they have a 1 millisecond response time. But you could drive a truck through the hole that is that specification when you say that, because it doesn't mean what you think it means. In this case, this panel type has a response time somewhere on the order of like 4 or 5 milliseconds for the kind of thing that I'm describing, minimum. And so this kind of test is useful to see how long it takes the display to fully change states. And I never would have thought this type of panel could change as quickly as it does in the high-speed photography, but it does change really quickly. So it is an impressive display for this class of panel, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that's why the black text looks pretty good, and that's why the game scrolling looks pretty good. Even though it's not OLED, it does hold its own. Very impressive. And just to be clear, remember, gray to gray is not the same as MPRT, and there's a specific test on the UFO suite just for that, so keep that in mind as you do the testing and calibration and everything else. The full official formal specs for this panel it is a VA type panel. Now this was very surprising to me because I expected certain picture characteristics, and this is pretty good. It's got a 178 degree viewing angle and a minimum of 170 degrees for the viewing angle, depending on if you're looking at it from above or below. It is 2560 by 1440, and it is a R1500 curve, refresh rate of up to 180 hertz for the input. Their advertised spec is 5 milliseconds gray to gray, 1 milliseconds MPRT. But, you know, for a VA panel, it's not bad. 125% sRGB, 99% DCI P3 for a VA panel. It's pretty crazy. It's 1.07 billion colors, but it's 8-bit plus FRC, so keep that in mind. 1000:1 contrast ratio. It is HDR10 and anti-glare. It does have some flicker-free technology in it. The input delay actually depends on the OSD settings. You can get it as low as 4.5. If you don't have it in a game mode, it can be upwards of like 12 to 15 milliseconds. But for the game modes, you can figure it's about 4 to 6 millisecond input delay, which is quite good. Less than a frame. Well, it's less than a frame at 60 hertz. And it uses less than 65 watts of power overall, which is, you know, if you're running in a camper or other low power type situation, it's really good. The reality here is that because panels at the extreme high end, OLED, the highest end IPS type panels, although the VA panel here maybe is a better answer for gaming than IPS because it has shockingly good image quality, even though it is a VA panel. It's better image quality than 3 or 5 year old IPS type panels. So panel technology, a little fungible there. But anyway, the highest end monitors that are like $600, $700, $800, $1,000 and beyond are pushing down the prices of all the other monitors. This monitor would have easily been over a $300 monitor just a few years ago. So the fact that the high-end monitors have gotten so insanely better and also are so insanely way priced that if ASRock keeps the pricing on this monitor pretty aggressive, this is a pretty enjoyable 2560 by 1440 monitor. And I've been pushing 2560 by 1440 as an enjoyable middle-of-the-road resolution for desktop productivity and gaming, and you don't have to have an insanely expensive GPU. In fact, there are still some places where you can get some fire sale 6950 XTs, 6900, 6800. That would pair really well with a 2560 by 1440 display in general. 7700 XT, of course, would be a good choice. 7900 GRE for high graphical fidelity. This would be a pretty reasonable gaming monitor, by all measures of a pretty reasonable gaming monitor. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with what ASRock has done, as long as they keep the price aggressive. I'm Whittlethis Level 1. If you have any questions or you pick up one of these and you want to show us some action shots in the forum, hit me up there. I'm signing out. I'll see you there.